Frank, my cousin Dane McDonald, he wrote an article a while ago. It was called the Frank Zane method, where you train a particular body part consecutively 3 times in a row. I did this workout, Frank, and I did it for legs, and my legs, I think I was limping for about 7 days straight. I was so sore. Do you know about this training method?
Is it 3 days in a row without any rest?
Yeah, yeah. So I hit legs Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and then had the rest of the week off legs and just trained all my other body parts. So I did very sort of low reps, so between 4 to 6 heavy, and then 6 to 8 reps the following day, different exercises, of course, and then day 3 was like giant sets. And I was so sore. Yeah, have you heard of this particular type of training? I mean, you obviously know this.
I may have used that in the past, but nothing recently. I've experimented with a lot of different techniques over the years, so
Yeah,
I'm sure I probably have done something like that in the past.
yeah, yeah. And for people that obviously know who you are, Frank, you're considered one of the probably the most impressive physiques when it came to aesthetics. But when you reflect on your career, what do you think separated your approach to training from your contemporaries?
Well, I knew I could never get real big and compete with these guys because I have a small frame, and so I decided to go for shape and proportion and symmetry instead of uh, being concerned about how big I could get. That wasn't in the cards for me.
Right. Yeah. And what was fascinating is they nicknamed you the Chemist. And if I believe that was because you would take a lot of supplements, is that correct?
I did take a lot of supplements, but I was also uh, had a background in chemistry. Basically, in high school, I got the chemistry award, and I basically have kept up on chemistry my whole career.
Yeah, amazing. Amazing. And take me back. If I remember, I think you started lifting weights or you had a fascination with weight training at around 14 years of age. Is that right?
That's correct. I started getting serious about bodybuilding when I was 14.
Wow. And how did you stumble into bodybuilding? Can you take me through how you got into it?
It was mainly through the bodybuilding magazines. I used to get them at the local newsstand, and I'd look all through them and look for tips I could pick up on how to train and what everybody else was doing, what was going on the West Coast in bodybuilding. I was living in Pennsylvania at the time.
Yeah. Yeah, wow. Yeah. And did you have a coach? Like did you have a mentor to teach you about weight training methodologies or did you just learn as you went?
It was sort of trial and error. I learned as I went. I never really had a coach that showed me exactly what to do. It was a lot of experimentation.
Yeah. And what was it like back in those days? Because I can imagine with the early bodybuilding days, and you're known to obviously competed against Arnold Schwarzenegger, but what was that era like back in those days? I mean, it would have been fantastic.
Well, the volume wasn't there. Weren't as many bodybuilding competitors then as there are today. So the ones that were there were, prominent, like Arnold was. He had just come off victories in London, and I managed to beat him in, Miami in 1968 for the title.
Yes, yeah. And with starting weight training at 14, did you notice a rapid change in your body? Or like, because I think when I started lifting weights, I was around 16. So I didn't really see too much of a change. Like I see a little bit of a physique change in my body, but it wasn't until maybe 18, 19 when I had that sort of muscle maturity. But did you see a rapid change in your physique?
I don't think I did. It wasn't that rapid. It was gradual. And I really didn't notice much in regards to that until I got more experience and started taking photos. And so when I did that, then I was able to note the changes.
Yes, that's right. I do remember that. You used to take photos. You were sort of one of the few bodybuilders that would take photos and just see your physique and see like and you knew sort of everything about your physique because of, hundreds of photos that you took. Is that correct?
We took a lot of photos because,
Yeah.
I learned that you have to see yourself the way other people see you. And the way you do that is with photographs. And
Yes.
so I took
Yeah.
advantage of knowing that. It did it.
Yeah. And what age were you, Frank, when you did your first bodybuilding show?
I think it was 18.
18. Yeah. Yeah. And how did you go? How did you go on your first one?
I don't quite remember exactly how I went, but I did very well. And I got a compliment from Bob Hoffman, the
Wow.
father of American American weightlifting. He gave me a very nice compliment, and that sort of
Yeah.
boosted my morale and gave me more confidence in what I was doing.
Yes. Yeah. The likes of, Vince Gironda, Frank, so he was another impressive, bodybuilder as well. He had a famous training method, the 8 sets of 8, where you hit 8 sets of 8, but with very short rests. Were you familiar with some of his work, and what were your thoughts on his system? Like, did you ever experiment with some of his weight training methodologies?
I never did. I trained at his gym for a while. Uh, I forget what year that was, but it was a very good place for me to go and train. And
Yeah,
actually, I had to travel about 20 miles each way to get there. But I did that for, I think, the summer of one of those years. And it was
yeah.
very productive.
Yeah, yes. And there's also this debate, Frank, around cardio versus weight training for overall when it comes for aesthetics and health. But in your view, is resistance training more superior than traditional cardio, especially if it's for fat loss?
I can't say it's superior, it's different. And I
Mm,
think for best results, you need to do both. And so my program was I'd work out with weights and then I'd do cardio after my weight training workout. It was
yeah.
basically running, jogging, not real fast, but something I did on a regular basis.
Yes. And you're often credited for pioneering the mind muscle connection. How important was that aspect of training compared to the physical?
Well, it's just the name of what happens when you train with weights. You connect what you're doing in your muscles with the image you have in your mind, with your plan you have in your mind, and that's basically it. It's sort of oversimplified, but that's all it was.
Yeah. And what was your split like? So leading up into competition, would you hit a body part twice a week?
I would 2 times a
Yes.
week. It was sort of like back biceps forearms the first day, legs the second day, chest, shoulder, triceps the third day. I do abdominal work every day and some aerobic activity every day too, and then rest the fourth day. And I went 4-day cycles like that quite a bit.
Yes. Yeah. And nutrition's changed a lot too. Mainstream media now, we understand that fat is super important. But what was your diet like back in those days? Was it high protein, moderate fats, or low carb? What was your approach?
It almost always was a low carbohydrate diet. I limited my carbohydrate intake to a point where I got more muscular from doing it.
Is that right? Wow. Wow, incredible. Yeah. And you'd stay relatively lean all year round?
I learned not to bulk up after trying it and not being not really, being that good at it. And so I really didn't do much of that. Uh, I discarded bulking up early on in my career.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Run me through your training split again, Frank. So leading up to competition, you would do push pull. But did you ever like do any sort of giant sets or incorporate drop sets, supersets, post exhaustion, pre exhaustion? Did you ever incorporate any of those overload techniques? Was there much sort of known for those kind of training methods back in those days?
I probably did. I experimented a lot, but basically, um, my main thing was to get a good pump in my workout,
Yeah.
and I made sure I did that.
Yes. Yeah. Did you take fish oil?
No.
No. No. Your posing routines, Frank. So almost it was like art, I remember watching you, um, and you could just see how well you prepped, but it was just amazing to watch. But how much emphasis did you think modern competitors should place on posing nowadays, Frank?
Well, I think you have to because that's how you present yourself. You have to really look your best when you're posing, and if you don't, you're not going to do well. So I always put a lot of value on that, and I always did it.
Yes, yeah, yeah. And what was it like, when you competed against Arnold? Because if I remember, I heard a story that he was very upset with himself when you beat him.
Well, I think he just came off Joe Weider brought him to America for the Mr. What was it, Mr. Universe, I think. It might have been before the Olympia days. He had just won all the amateur, the NABA Mr. Universe contest in London. And so he fully expected to win this. But it turned out that he was relatively smooth compared to me. I was very muscular. I had just competed in Mr. America, IFBB Mr. America the week before, and I was coming off that win, and I was very muscular.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And what would you say, Frank, was a pivotal moment in your career where you said to yourself, I could be bigger, I could be better? Was there a particular show that really sort of lifted you in a sense that you could really propel yourself forward?
Not really. I went off feedback I got from judges and fellow competitors and how I did in the placings, and that's what I went by. There wasn't any kind of a radical thing ever happening with me. It was all pretty steady and relatively slow.
Yeah. Yeah. So for anyone that's listening, Frank, and wants to get into bodybuilding, what would you say would be the top 3 tips that you would recommend? Should they start lifting weights full body or should they do a split? Like, what would you recommend for someone that is just starting out in bodybuilding?
I think a good program is the two-way split routine where you train upper body one day and lower body, legs, abs the next. And you could go two days in a row and then take the third day off. I think that's a very good way to start out. It's
Yeah.
what's pretty much what I did.
Yes. Yeah. And exercise wise, were you squat, deadlift, bench press, chin ups, overhead pressing, all your big bang for your buck movements?
Well, I always squatted and did bench press, and I didn't really do much in the way of deadlifting, but basically I worked my lats. I'd done lat machine pull downs, etc. It's a pretty traditional routine that you see in the magazines publicized.
Yes. Yeah. Did you ever see, Frank, there's a video of Tom Platz. I think he squatted, it was about 500 and something pounds. It was incredible. He did reps of 25. Did you see that video?
No, but I've heard about it. He was an incredible
Oh,
squatter. And of course, his
oh,
legs sort of grew out of proportion to his upper body. He had
yeah, he
incredible
had
thighs,
phenomenal legs.
but the upper body never really caught up to his thighs, but still, he was an incredible bodybuilder.
Yeah, he mentioned, I think, in an interview, Frank, that you had an influence on him as well. He said that if it wasn't for you, he wouldn't be where he is today. You know, you really said emphasizing your legs. You've got these amazing legs. Yeah, does that ever sort of? Do you ever reflect on that?
Not really. Tom was around a lot in the early days when we all trained at Gold's Gym in Venice. And so, we'd see him, we'd see everybody there training. So it was a good atmosphere.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And many people today, as well, Frank. Um, they're chasing extreme size. You know, some people are using shortcuts to get there. Do you think bodybuilding has moved too far away from aesthetics?
I really don't know. I don't think so. I think the top guys are the top guys, and I think they're the one that set the standard. Um, so I think they're the ones that, you should watch, as far as who is going to, be the best.
Yeah. The bodybuilders nowadays, Frank, I mean, they're impressive. I think it was probably when I saw Dorian Yates. Um, you just got to see an enormous amount of muscle mass on someone's frame. I think it was just incredible to see. But the physiques back in the days when you used to compete, you know, very aesthetic, very lean, um, and a lot of young boys really resonate towards those kind of physiques. Like I used to sort of look at you as sort of the pinnacle of aesthetics. Comparing the physiques back then to the physiques nowadays, there's a huge difference. Is this approach, I mean, they're just getting bigger and bigger. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, in my day, there were guys that were pretty big, but I think I realized early on personally that that wasn't the way that I should go because I would never be that big. And so for me to compete against them on their terms was not something that I really wanted to do. So I took the opportunity to individualize my training. So I presented put my best foot forward, so to say.
Yeah. And you had that classic, and you've spoken about this, I know, but you had that classic vacuum pose, Frank. Impressive. What is the secret to a good vacuum pose?
This, you have to practice basically on an empty stomach. I would practice before I ate, before I started getting hungry, I would do a bunch of vacuums and that would alleviate hunger somewhat. And I usually made a practice of doing it that way.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And if I remember correctly, Frank, you would do a good 1,000 sit-ups. That was part of sometimes your ab routine. Is that right?
I sometimes did that, but I followed a lot of different ab routines
Yeah. How often did you train your abs?
every workout.
Every workout. Yeah. Yeah. And would it be more high reps or a mixed number of reps that you would do?
It was mainly high reps, a
Yeah.
lot of Roman chair sit up.
Roman chair sit-ups. Is that what's that one?
Well, you sit in a Roman chair, which looks sort of like a chair. and you anchor your feet and you go back about almost all the way back. My upper body was almost parallel to the floor, and then
Yeah.
I'd come all the way up. And I did those on a regular basis.
Yes. Yes. And who were some of your early inspirations, Frank, that you looked up to?
Well, there was Reg Park. There was Sergio Oliva. There was Bill Pearl. Of course, Arnold was around. Somebody who I trained with, so I got to know what he did what he did pretty well. Franco Colombo, Dave Draper. All these guys are
Yes.
at the gym training. Not all of them, of course, but most of them were. And so I got a chance to really see what they were doing and actually get involved with doing it myself.
Yeah. And how long would your workouts typically take, Frank?
Not more than an hour and a half.
Yeah. Yeah. And with cardio, would you do more of that leading up to a competition, or how would you structure cardio?
Just so I did it. I didn't necessarily do more of it. I
Yeah.
always included it, but I always did it on a regular basis. So it's not like I did more of it before competition.
Yeah. Was fasting ever a thing back in those days? Did you ever do fasted cardio like some of the bodybuilders do nowadays?
No, I never really did it. I
Yeah.
realized that, you can't really starve yourself and look good. So I never got into fasting.
Yeah. Yes. And what was the general nutritional plan that you adopted? You said you mentioned protein and fats, very low carbohydrates. Was it like steak and eggs in the morning, or what would be a typical day for you?
Uh, I tried to get 1 gram of protein per pound of lean body weight, and that's what I managed to do. And it came mainly from meat, like steak, uh, eggs too. It was mainly meat. Also organ meats like liver, heart. I had a mixture. I had one recipe I liked that was a mixture of ground heart and ground beef. I found that especially good for me.
Wow, interesting. Yeah, interesting. And protein powders. Was that a thing back then?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
I used Blair's protein quite a bit in those days for milk and egg protein. Not so much before that. I used it up until the last month before competition because I grew from taking it, but I didn't get more muscular taking it.
Yeah. Yeah. And what did you found worked for you, Frank, with engaging in the type of training that you were doing? Where did you start to see the most amount of muscle on your frame?
Well, it was evenly distributed, you know, muscle pretty much everywhere. I just didn't want to get too smooth.
Mm, yeah.
So I
Yeah.
kept an eye on what I looked like in photographs.
Yes. Yeah. And what would you say is some of the top three tips that you would suggest for anyone that wants to put on a considerable amount of muscle?
Take your time and do a good job. Don't be in a
Take your
rush to
time and
get
do a good
good.
job.
Don't think it's going to happen overnight because it's not. And, just keep an eye on what you look like, take photos, study the photos, get feedback from experts and other bodybuilders, and take it from there.
Yeah. And you still keep up the training, you
I
still
still
lift
work out,
weights?
not as
Yeah.
much as before, but I
Yeah.
guess I train about 3 or 4 times a week.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. What, what has sort of changed in the way, with your workouts? Are they shorter workouts or?
I don't use as heavy a weight, and I always go for a pump in my workout.
Yeah.
I don't really. I don't really push myself real hard. I just want to get a good pump and to get a little sore the next day or the day after.
Yeah. Do you remember any sort of workouts where you were extremely sore? Like I mean, legs for me, Frank, I'm limping for days.
I never really got that sore from my workouts. I stopped short of doing that.
Yeah. Yes. What would you say are some of the common mistakes you see people do in the gym that are trying to build muscle?
I never really studied it that closely, but I think the main thing is to avoid getting injured when you're working out. Don't
Yeah.
go so heavy that you're going to get injured. And don't do something just because somebody else is doing it. You have to find your own way. And I think that that's something that comes with practice.
Yes. Yeah. Frank, there's a growing number of men around the world that are feeling purposeless. They're frustrated. We have a huge mental health crisis as well. They feel lost in the world. Um, do you believe weight training can be an outlet to really try and give them that sense of purpose?
I think it can. You have a goal in weight training and you work toward the goal, and then you get feedback as to having accomplishment or seeing how close you've come to accomplishing it. And it's a good way to train.
Yeah. Yeah. And what would you think that the number one thing bodybuilding has given you, Frank?
Probably a reputation in bodybuilding as being one of the top people, and uh, physique that I can still work out and make progress with, and so I'm thankful for that.
Yeah. Yeah. The gym's taught me so much, Frank. It's taught me resilience. It's taught me about working hard. Um, it's very much a metaphor for life and how that can transfer over into life. Um, and I'm sure, everyone goes through hard times. But if you look at weight training as a metaphor for life, it very much correlates to, sometimes you're going to overcome challenges and setbacks. Um, was there ever a moment where you felt that, life can be quite challenging, but, you were in the back of your mind, you had the gym as an outlet to really try and, um, just sort of overcome those hardship and difficult moments?
I never looked at training as a way to do that. I just basically did it was something that I wanted to do and something that enabled me to, reach my goal and win top titles. So that was my whole goal, my whole purpose with it.
Yeah. Yes. And what was the experience like winning your first Olympia?
Uh, let's see, that was 77. It was always great. 77 was good. 78 was better. I was in better shape. I was more muscular. And then 79, I think I was in my very best shape of all time.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, so you think 79 was your best year?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, and what was your current weight when you stepped up on stage?
I think it was about 190.
Yeah, yeah, and then what about your off season? What were you weighing at?
Uh, right around that, maybe a little less.
Yeah, yeah, and to be up on stage, with some of the legends that you competed against, what was that experience like? Arnie and all the other guys and Surgeon Bray. Did you compete against Surgeon Bray?
I did.
Yeah,
He was a great champion. I trained at his gym in Paris, and he was a top guy. It's one of the best. Sergio Oliva the same. Great bodybuilder. And of course, Arnold as well.
yeah, yes. Frank, how do you personally define success now compared to when you were standing up on the Olympia stage?
I haven't really thought about that much in those terms. Success now would be just getting good workouts, going to the gym on a regular basis, and getting your pump when I worked out. And that's basically it. My goals are different now than they were then. I was competing, and so they're quite a bit, uh,
Yeah.
I guess, more strenuous involved in the training than it is now. I still work out, but basically I don't have any kind of goal to compete or anything like that.
Yeah. 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 And with the bodybuilders nowadays, in comparison to the bodybuilders in your era, um, I mean, both equally is impressive. But what do you think separates your style of training back in those days as opposed to the bodybuilders nowadays, or is it very similar with what you would do?
I really don't know much of what they're doing today as far as their style of training. I'm only familiar with one guy, Michael Hearn. He's come to see me a few times, and so the guy has tremendous potential, and he's big and he's very, very strong.
Yeah.
So I think that he's one of the top guys in bodybuilding today, and I think if he wanted to, he could win a Mr. Olympia. I don't think he's interested in it though.
Yeah. Yeah. Frank, did you ever incorporate powerlifting into your training?
Yeah, I used to powerlift, but when I did it, basically it was uh, the list were curl, bench press, and deadlift. And I always wished that they had squat in there because I was a very good squatter, but they didn't. They had curl. I was pretty good at
Yeah.
that too, but I basically did all right with that. But I didn't win trophies for it.
What was your max on squat?
My best was basically 10 reps with 405,
Right. For 400 or 500 pounds.
405 pounds, right?
Wow. Wow, that's a lot of weight. And would you go all the way down
I
completely
did.
to the bottom?
They're full squats. I did that. I did that
Y-
with Arnold in a
Full
workout.
squats. Yeah.
We were both squatting, and we basically
Y-
used about the same amount of weight for the same amount of reps.
Yeah. Incredible, Frank. Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah. And do you still sometimes go to the Olympia? You probably don't remember me. I met you, I think it was back in 2012. This was for the Mr. Olympia show in Las Vegas. I believe it was at the Fitness Expo. But do you still go back and watch the Olympia?
No,
No.
no, I don't go.
Yeah.
I, you know,
Yeah.
I see the podcasts on TV, and I'm basically not interested in going to shows too much anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you like to do in your free time now, Frank? I mean, you still lift weights, but what do you like to do?
I still work out, and I write. Uh, I practice. I have an archery range on my property. I shoot archery.
Oh,
Um,
really?
yeah, that's
Yeah, are
about
we
it.
compound bow or just a normal longbow or
It's a recurve bow.
Yep, yeah. That's very therapeutic. It's very, cathartic, I think.
It is. It is.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
good for focus. Being able to concentrate on the point and then send arrows directly to that point is very satisfying.
It's relaxing, isn't it? Yeah, I think
Yes.
archery is amazing. Absolutely amazing. Yeah. I think, would you agree, Frank, that anything could be classified as a meditation? And I mean, archery is a perfect example. But when you're in the gym and you're focusing on your reps, you're counting your reps, you're very present. Um, I mean, someone doesn't really have to sit down in Zen and, with their arms folded and,
Right. Right.
anything could be classified as a meditation.
Sure. That's true. So
Yeah.
it's basically that something that you can sort of lose yourself in is really what you want to get an exercise or workout. Is something where you know you become one with your workout. It's a good way to
Mm,
put it.
yeah, yeah. I'm heavily into martial arts, Frank. I've been doing martial arts for over 30 years,
Great.
and people say to me all the time, Frank, with jujitsu in particular, it's very, very much a very physical activity, but you have to be present. You can't be thinking about anything else. Like I'm too busy worried about someone trying to strangle me or put me in an arm
Right.
lock or something like that. Did you dabble into martial arts at all?
Never. No.
No, no, no. Yeah. Do you think they'll ever have bodybuilding in the Olympic Games?
Uh, I really don't know. I don't follow it that closely to keep track, but basically, I always thought of bodybuilding more of a performing art rather than as a sport. And I think that sort of stands in the way a lot of people don't think bodybuilding is really a sport. It's more of a performing art.
Mm, yeah. If you had to start over today, Frank, with the knowledge that you have now, what would you do differently in your training, nutrition, and your lifestyle?
I think I do it the same. I really have nothing to fall back on that answer, but I think I'd probably do it much the same as I did it then.
Yeah, yeah. And what would you want to be remembered for, Frank? So the legacy that people want to remember you, not just as a three-time Mr. Olympia, but as a teacher and a thinker of the world of bodybuilding. But what would you like people to remember you for?
Exactly what I achieved in bodybuilding. Won Mr. Olympia 3 times. Won Mr. America, Mr. World, Mr. Universe 3 times. And that was basically all the titles that were available. And so I think I'd be happy with that.
Yeah. Yes. Frank, it's been a real honor sitting down and having a chat with you. Um, and for those people that want to sort of, and do you offer programs and nutrition advice? Is there somewhere that people can go for that?
Yeah, you can go to my website, frankzane.com. Basically, there are programs on my website you can do. And basically, uh, there's some good ones too. But basically, if you go through my books, especially the Zane Bodybuilding Manual, everything is in that book. It's pretty much a compilation of everything I know about training.
Yeah. Amazing, Frank. And you're on you are on a little bit of social media, so people can find you. You're on Instagram. And
Yes.
yep. And where should people reach out to you via email or
Yeah, email works. Uh, so Zane0001 at AOL.com is my email address.
yeah,
Zane and then 3 zeros and a 1 at AOL.com.
amazing, amazing, Frank. Thank you so much for your time and honored to sit down and have a chat with you.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Thank
Keep
you.
up the good work.